welcome back to the Reach, and this is the fifth sketch called Adaptation / the Metamorphosis.
What was that?
Yes, Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis. Yes, I said that properly. I think everybody here knows Metamorphosis. That game process whereby caterpillars turn into butterflies. Yes, it's. Before we go further, let me just give a brief overview of the adaptation once more. This is the adaptation after the depression. This is not to be confused with the adaptation, the transition. This is actually once you have settled, when you are aware of the environment you are in, and you can now make more conscious decisions of what exactly it is you want with your life, with your journey, and what you demand out of yourself after that point. Because I feel like it's very pivotal or really differentiate between the adaptation and because the first one, I feel like it's first year. You are adapting because you are in a new environment. Yeah. And then the other one, you are adapting because now you're
Your life depends on it.
exactly. And most importantly, I feel like one aspect that hadn't been tested before has finally been tested, and now go on you have a more concrete ability, a more concrete understanding of your own abilities, and that thing is a test to our adversity quotient, because I feel like our IQ is always tested, maybe our emotional quotient, halele hale, but our adversity quotient is the one it's our make or break once we are that side. Are you able to deal with the depression and come out of this on top, or is it just gonna break you down and then bring you back home, only a shell of who you used to be? And yeah, who has to tackle it first?
Okay. Since you're looking at me.
Shine.
I think the first thing that we should actually highlight is that not everybody comes out of that depressive state. And even those that come out of that depressive state come they still have traces of it on them. It's never something say you fully shake off.
I don't think you can fully shake it off.
Yeah. And even after that state, you become, what is the word, hypersensitive to when emotions start to shift, and then you're like, whoa, okay, something's happening. I need to realign. I need to cut off everything and look at myself and really come back to center. But going back to the adaptation, so first and foremost, we're coming from blind horror, where this guy was eyes shut, all that emotion, that agony that guy was going through. And now we come to a point where this person has opened their eyes and they're like, okay, fine, I have to
I
do
can
this.
see now.
I
can
to,
see.
And you can see the fear in this person's eye. I think that's the first thing that when I saw this, I was like, this person is so scared. Because first of all, you're not even sure, are you really fully out of the clouds that you had just been in, and you don't know, like, when you're just waking up and you open your eyes, you still need a minute to kind of align yourself so that you can actually see properly. So that this person is about to do, they're still kind of doing it in
Walking
the dark.
on eggshells.
Exactly.
And,
because they don't actually know, one, what is going to work for them, how they're actually going to navigate this thing. So there's that fear, there's that, man, it's a lot, right? But this person then decides, okay, you know what, like we had said, now I need to go from being this caterpillar that can be easily crushed by people, things, and start now to go to a whole new dimension of being able to fly. I need to get out of this state, otherwise you go shot. And thank God we came out of it. thank God we made it, but it's not to say that everybody does it, and it's not with ease that this thing happens.
True.
And this thing happens from sheer willpower first and foremost, finding that inner strength to actually get out of that pit, actually having something to look forward to on the other side, and also having some sort of help. People get that kind of help in different ways. Earlier, was it you? You mentioned that you saw a counselor. And although to something in AC, but that's some sort of help
No, yeah, she
that can
actually, like,
actually
let me not downplay it, because
a
it was actually good help
yeah
during the time. It's just that it wasn't enough for what I
yeah
was going through, but I felt like it was solid help. It's
exactly
just that it wasn't enough.
yeah.
I don't think it was enough.
But it was enough for you to kind of open your eyes,
Yeah,
to kind
just
of
a bit.
feel through the darkness, if you should.
I feel like it opened my eyes in the sense that I understood what I wasn't the only one who was going through that, and I didn't feel so alienated by going to somebody else with those sort of problems. Because before that, before I actually had a counselor, I just felt like, everybody na le mathata a gagwe, let me like just bombard people with these. But she was actually one of those people by Longore. They got me, even though it was quite difficult to do, got me out of that shell where I can allow myself to be vulnerable, because that's actually where I was able to see myself with better clarity. Or this is what broke you, this is what you need to do to get it fixed. And I feel like personally the adaptation from that it's partly responsible for the broadening of my identity.
Yeah.
Because before we went there, like I said, we were the smart students, and I feel like we never got to outgrow that, because mongwe le mongwe go itseng, everything would be overshadowed by ole ba ga sa tlhaka, wa bona.
Yeah.
And then when I was actually going through all this turmoil, I was just there like, Mona, there has to be another person besides this person. And that's when I started actually investing into my art, my all of those other things that that are just silly hobbies on the way. And I was investing just as much energy, enthusiasm, uh just everything. I was putting the same energy I was putting into my academics, into all these new pursuits, and I feel like they built a new person who wasn't centered around how smart are you, and it also relieved that pressure, yeah. Because I feel like the whole point of the well is dry. I mean, the well is dry is people expect you to come back with something again. Or if the well is wet, people expect you to how boa.
Bucket of water.
Exactly, bring that bucket of water. And when I felt like I wasn't gonna bring that bucket of water, I was like, I'm gonna the flowers on the way. Like, just return with something.
Yeah.
Honestly, return with something. But like you said,
Yeah.
Lone, even though bula matlho a gago, it is not the same, because
Yeah.
we are less trusting, we are
Yeah.
less I think we are more emotionally mature, but I feel like it doesn't relate with most people the same ways.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
No, sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say, Hore, on that point that you were talking about how now you start to invest a lot more in other things because wawana gore tlhake hela. No.
I can
Because I think at that point we realize, Hore, like you're saying, that's not all who we are, and we start now to nurture other things, and we start kind of coming out of that mentality, yeah, education is the key to a better life, and we come to that mentality, yeah, no, education is good, that's great, but that's not all there is, and getting the money, getting the achievements, getting the goals, that's not all there is. The other things, other parts of me matter as well. We start to look at ourselves on like a broader spectrum. We start to look at other parts and other spheres of life that we have, as opposed to just, okay, work, money, and then what? You start to now think about me as an individual, me as a spirit being, my soul, my heart, and you start to explore those things.
I think with this sketch, this is where, from my perspective, you begin to sort of shed the ego, or you've shed it and allowed space for a more vulnerable, open-minded human being or individual. You are now aware of what is required of you, as you already were, but more importantly, you're more aware of the challenges that you're going to face in your pursuit of those things or those goals. So you start to open your mind more in terms of the options that are available to you that will either help you to overcome those challenges or at least provide you a healthy amount of support during those times, whether it's leaning into more, like he was mentioning, creative things. It was the same for me, or whatever you choose to do as an extracurricular activity outside of your academics. You really begin to, I don't really know if it's an evolution, but there's definitely, again, a metamorphosis and a growth from the person that you once were, because you really start to like understand that it's not going to be easy and there's no way to escape how difficult and challenging it's going to be, really. Like, it's going to happen, you're going to experience it. I think the tricky part is, at least for me, being in the place that I was at the time, everyone else around you, apart from your immediate friends who you might speak to, but everyone else around you seems to be doing fine. Like, everyone else just seems like it's cool. Like, school isn't stressing them out. They're getting everything done on time. They're enjoying the process. And as much as I would have wanted to enjoy the process, I'm like, dude, this isn't enjoyable. Like, my life... Thing is, I always knew that I wasn't the type of person whose life was ever centered around one thing. Even though one specific thing may have been the highlight from other people's perspective, I internally never just celebrated the academic achievement as like the thing. Of course, you'd have to just naturally, because it's something that parents and relatives, when they look at you, it's something that they can be proud of and hold you up like Simba or something. They can hold you up and be like,
Rafiki
this is
from
my
the cliff.
It's that thing that they can cling on to because it's tangible. It's hard to get them to understand the intangible. And trying to condense it and get people to understand it is, I think, the biggest challenge for me. That I choose to go the more creative route than the academic route for whatever reason, but I think that's who I am in my heart. The academic stuff will always jump out if you have a conversation with me because it's who I am. I can't escape it, but it's not all of me, and it doesn't necessarily always give you the full picture. So I don't even know if I've touched on anything that is specific to that sketch.
But you did.
I just feel like that's what it symbolized to me. It was more of a metaphor than a direct translation type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like, oh, sorry, you go first.
I was going to say, I have a question though.
Sure.
Do you think that perspective of kind of looking at the academic side of you as all of you, is it something that you experienced more from people, Baba Mokai, kind of even people that were that side as well?
I don't think anybody that side thought we were smart.
At
that point we went. I feel like we were in a group of people by Longore. They were more holistic, and it didn't matter or it really didn't do anything for you. You didn't gain any status from being smart. Whereas this side, I feel like there's a little bit of prestige that comes with it. Then what we could. It was nice. It's nice to be called smart, but it's bad to be thought of as only smart. Because we're people, and we absorb a lot of things. I feel it's limiting to expect one person more. I can we include them in this your small box, regardless of the circumstances.
I think it was kind of the same, definitely more here, because they already know who you are according to them. So that side, they're getting to learn you or learn about you. But I think this is probably also sort of a result of going, like I went to Imperial, and at Imperial, everyone was like top academic level.
Mm.
So even though there are other extracurricular activities that go on there, no one really understands why you want to talk about the dance show you have tomorrow. It's not interesting to them. No, we want to talk about these F1 cars. That's far more interesting to them. And that's where the callback to earlier, the loss of connection sort of happens, because you're like, we're doing the same course and studying the same thing, but we're not the same type of person.
Yeah.
We're not the same type of person, and our interests are different, which is another thing that I think I struggled with a little bit, figuring that out, and like, how do I relate to this person even though we may not necessarily share similar interests all the time. And then it just comes down to, okay, we'll just find where the interest is, and usually that's just school related things, like, did you do this assignment, did you do this? You don't really build a real connection with somebody because you can't really understand them that way.
And I think another underlying issue of the metamorphosis is that, like, this person has opened their eyes, but they still feel like they're still stuck in the hand. Remember, they still feel like nobody can see. They still feel like, I need to do this alone. So at the same time, or this person may be, they may have their eyes open, but they may possibly still be going through the handshake with oblivion. You get my point, Dory? That's the saddest part for it. Even though you might evolve from that, people still feel like your world is wet.
Yeah.
So it's just there, like, you are still alone.
Yeah.
You are still alone.
That's so true.
It's you've opened your eyes, but it's still horror. All you are seeing is, so we can still see the pain in this person's eyes, even though they feel like, I've gone through the worst, and now it's time for me to dust out my tears. I'm ready. At the same time, are you really ready? We'll find out in the next. We'll find out in the next sketch.